Barry Jenkins' film Moonlight opens with something unexpected. A drug dealer asking about his young employee's mother. Juan isn't collecting money. He's checking in, showing care. Then we meet Little, a young black boy running from bullies screaming. He hides in an abandoned building. It's littered with crack pipes and needles. This is his only refuge. In these opening moments, Jenkins introduces us to two forces that will shape this boy's entire life: poverty and addiction, where his father figure is a drug dealer and his mother is addicted to crack. Moonlight follows Chiron through 3 stages as child Little, teenage Chiron, and adult Black, revealing how these forces constrain his possibilities for self-expression and intimate connection. This narrative raises a question. What does Moonlight suggest about how poverty and addiction shape identity? Critics loved Moonlight. They praised its tenderness, its groundbreaking portrayal of Black queer masculinity, as they should. The film is extraordinary, but there's something most scholars missed. They focused on Juan and Little's relationship, on Chiron's sexuality, on the beautiful cinematography. What they didn't explore was how poverty and addiction work together, not as separate problems, but as mutually reinforcing systems that trap these characters. Scholar Terence Wooten noticed that critics dismissed Paula as a one-dimensional stereotype. Hannah Skellum analyzed how spaces in the film are deliberately designed to control and contain Black bodies. E. Patrick Johnson introduced the concept of makeshift masculinity, which are identities built from scraps when you have no other options. Let's talk about Paula. When we first see her, she's wearing medical scrubs from Memorial Medical Center. She's a working mother and a healthcare worker. In this moment where Juan brings Little home, Paula immediately puts her body between her son and the stranger.
And who is you?
She's protective. She's present. But how did we get here? Here's what we need to understand. Paula's addiction doesn't happen in a vacuum. Scholar Audrey McCluskey documents how Liberty City was systematically destroyed through urban renewal programs, highway construction that fragmented communities, and Nixon's war on drugs that deliberately flooded Black neighborhoods with crack cocaine. Yes, Paula shakes down her teenage son for drug money. Yes, she brings Ben home. These moments are painful to watch, but the film is asking us to look deeper. This is the key moment. Many viewers think Paula calls her son a slur here, but look closer. She's not saying that at all.
Don't look at me!
She is literally telling us, the audience, don't look at me. Don't make me the problem. Look at the systems that created this situation that I am in. Terence Wooten says, Paula's refrain helps us understand how Black motherhood is constituted, not outside but within representation. He argues that Paula's words ask us to reconsider everything we think we know about Black mothers' addiction and responsibility. The film shows us exactly how poverty and addiction reinforce each other, so let's break it down. Poverty created this abandoned building through disinvestment, urban abandonment, and drug policy that filled it with addicts. All together make it Little's only refuge from violence. Watch Paula's cycle. She works a low-wage job that barely pays her rent. Economic stress builds. Drugs provide temporary relief, but drugs cost money. Now she needs more work or other ways to get cash. When Juan supplies her drugs, he creates an economic relationship. His business depends on her addiction, while her addiction deepens her poverty. For Chiron, poverty concentrates him in underfunded schools with what scholar Hannah Skellum calls carceral logic, schools that operate like prisons, training students to control each other. Skellum says, the school structure effectively permits Black teenagers to destroy each other and effectively to destroy themselves. After Chiron gets beaten, the school administrator tells him,
If you were a man, there'll be 4 other knuckleheads sitting right next to you.
The institution values fighting back over protecting victims, and this is why Chiron stays silent. He can't explain his home situation, his mother's addiction, and his poverty, because exposing that vulnerability would give bullies more ammunition. Silence becomes survival. The film is divided into 3 acts, showing Chiron at 3 stages: Little, Chiron, and Black. Watch how he transforms. As Little, he's soft, vulnerable, and seeking protection. As a teenager, he's still soft, still struggling to understand himself. But as Black, muscles, gold grill, drug dealer, gun. He's built armor. If you notice anything between them, Black has become Juan. The man who saved him is also the man who sold drugs to his mother, and now Chiron has taken his place. Scholar E. Patrick Johnson calls this makeshift masculinity, an identity created from the scraps of your life when you have limited options. This isn't Chiron's authentic self. This is survival. He also says, the materiality of poverty at times facilitates a different relationship to masculinity and the same-sex desire in ways that make gender and sexuality illegible within a visual economy of hegemonic queerness. The scraps Johnson talks about are literal. Narrow hallways with no privacy from Paula's addiction, chain-link fences trapping him at school, abandoned buildings where he hides. These spaces force Chiron to build an identity designed for survival, not self-expression. Now you might be thinking, wait, doesn't this remove all responsibility? Paula chose to use drugs. Chiron chose to become a dealer. And you'd be right to push back. These are real choices with real consequences. But watch how the film handles agency. Paula does make choices in protecting her son and maintaining employment despite addiction, eventually into recovery. These aren't automatic responses, they're genuine decisions. Same with Chiron. He chooses silence. He chooses to fight back. He chooses to break that chair over Terrell's back. He chooses to become Black. But here's a question the film asks. What were his other options? Should he stay silent and get beaten, or speak up and expose vulnerability? Accept help from a drug dealer, or refuse on moral grounds? Endure abuse forever, or fight back into the prison system? Stay soft and get destroyed, or build armor and survive? The film shows us constrained agency, genuine choices made within severely limited options created by poverty and addiction working together. Near the end, Paula apologizes.
Lord knows I did not have love for you when you needed it. I know that. So you ain't gotta love me.
It's genuine. It's moving. Black reunites with Kevin, his childhood friend and first love. Black confesses,
"You're the only man that's ever touched me. You're the only one. I haven't really touched anyone since."
And then this. We're suddenly back at the beginning, young Little on the beach, turning to look directly at us. Why does Jenkins refuse us closure? Why not let Black and Kevin find happiness? Why not celebrate Paula's recovery as fixing everything? Because that would be a lie. Paula's recovery doesn't undo years of trauma. Black's survival came at the cost of his capacity for intimacy. The structural violence that created these conditions, the poverty, drug policy, spatial segregation, none of that has changed. Maurice Tracy says, danger and trauma are always at the periphery of Black queer childhood. He reminds us that Jenkins doesn't eliminate trauma from the story. He shows us how it's always present, always lurking, shaping every choice these characters make. As McCluskey's niece observes about Liberty City today, it is not worse than I have ever seen in Miami. The film refuses redemptive narratives because redemption narratives let systems off the hook. They say, see, individuals can overcome through resilience. But Barry Jenkins is saying no. These systems need to change. So let's return to this image. Little looking at us. At us. The film is making us self-conscious about how we watch, how we judge, how we understand these lives. Moonlight isn't asking, is Paula a good mother? It's not asking, did Chiron make the right choices? It's not asking, did Black succeed or fail? Instead, it asks, what identities become possible when poverty and addiction intersect? What survival strategies emerge when systemic violence operates through space, economics, and chemistry? How might recognizing these forces transform how we understand agency, responsibility, and care? The film demands we hold multiple truths at once. Paula's addiction harms Chiron, and poverty creates conditions making addiction likely. Chiron's silence protects him, and it forecloses intimacy. Black survival required hardening, and hardening sacrifices vulnerability. Structural violence constrains choices, and characters still exercise agency within those constraints. Paula told us from the beginning, don't look at me, Look at the systems, look at the policies. Look at how poverty and addiction are deliberately produced and then used to justify abandoning entire communities. The work of representation, Jenkins suggests, isn't resolving these tensions. It's making them visible, revealing how poverty and addiction jointly shape lives in ways that resist simple moral judgment while demanding structural transformation.